hay un cierto tipo de riesgo en lo de aprender a través de experiencias dolorosas, en el sentido de que no hay el riesgo de que se acumule trauma sobre trauma y se haga todo cada vez más difícil?
Well, let me share a story from one of the books to answer your question. In El Plan de tu Alma, there is an entire chapter about the pre-birth planning of accidents. And I put accidents in quotes because they're not really accidents, they're planned. There are two stories in that chapter. One of the two stories is about an American woman named Christina. She's now in her 60s, but she shared with me a story that took place many years ago when she was in her 20s. She was employed as an administrative assistant at a college in California. And one of her duties in that job was to pick up her boss's mail every day. So on one particular day, just as she had done many, many times before, she walked down the stairs to the mailboxes which were in the basement of this building. Unbeknownst to her on that day, somebody had planted a pipe bomb in the mailbox. So when Christina put her hand into the mailbox to pick up the mail, the pipe bomb detonated. And the force from this explosion was so great that it picked her up off the ground and threw her 10 feet backwards against a concrete wall. There were 6-foot splinters of wood that were shot like arrows out of a bow into the wall around her. The explosion severed 2 fingers. It ruptured both of her eardrums, and flames from the explosion scorched Christina's body from head to toe. When she got to the hospital, doctors actually had to hold magnets over her eyeballs to extract the little bits of metal from the pipe. So we're talking here about a level of suffering that's almost unimaginable to the average person. Her recovery took 2 years and 10 reconstructive surgeries. At one point during this 2-year period, Christina was lying in her hospital bed in a tremendous amount of pain when she heard a voice inside her head, a voice that was not her own. It turns out that the force from this explosion, in addition to doing a lot of damage to her body, had opened up her psychic gift. She had become clairaudient. The voice she heard inside her head that day was one of her spirit guides. And the guide said to her, "You planned this." Of course, she said, "Why?" And then the guide told her, and here's what he said. He said, "You wanted before you were born to have a lifetime as a gifted healer. And you knew that if you could heal yourself from the devastating effects of this bomb explosion, you could then take all of that wisdom and knowledge about healing and turn it outward in service to others." This is exactly what she went on to do. After she recovered from the surgeries, she got a PhD in speech-language pathology. She set up a private practice, and at this point in her career, she's healed literally thousands of people. She actually has the ability to go into a patient's brain energetically, non-invasively, and restore language processing capability in people who have lost that due to stroke or accident. So she's a remarkably gifted healer. And the only reason she can do this is because she healed herself first from the bomb explosion. Now, when I interviewed her for El Plan de tu Alma, she said 2 amazing things to me. One was, she said, "Rob, I have completely forgiven the person who planted the bomb." Now, given her level of suffering, that in and of itself is a remarkable statement. But then she said something even more amazing. She said, "Rob, I am deeply grateful to the person who planted the bomb." And when she says she's deeply grateful, she really means that she's deeply grateful. This, to me, is one of the most amazing stories I've seen that shows what you can do with an awareness of your pre-birth plan. Now, your question was, isn't it risky? Couldn't things go wrong? Couldn't they go in the other direction? Well, the answer is absolutely yes. You know, you can easily imagine that she could have chosen to be bitter and resentful for the rest of her life. She could have chosen to be angry for the rest of her life. She might even have chosen to devote the rest of her life to taking revenge and tracking down the bomber. But because Christina came into an understanding of her pre-birth plan and actively worked with it over a period of years, she was able to get to that place of complete forgiveness and then that place of complete gratitude. Now, her story is unusual in that it's a bomb explosion, But she herself is not unusual. If she can do this in regard to her experience, you and I and everyone listening can do it in regard to our experiences. We can all work with an awareness of our pre-birth plan to get to that place of forgiveness and then to that place of gratitude. This is the power of knowing your pre-birth plan. It pulls you out of victim consciousness, which is the single lowest vibratory state a human being can be at. And victim consciousness tends to be self-perpetuating because when you vibrate at the frequency of victim, you are stating to the universe that you are a victim, and the universe always says yes to whatever you say. So then the universe brings you more experiences that seem to confirm to you that you are in fact a victim. It can be a tough place to get out of. But one very powerful way to get out of that cycle is to understand that you are the powerful creator of your life. You planned your major and many of your minor experiences before you were born. And once you know that you are that powerful, that you are a creator of what you experienced, again, it pulls you out of victim consciousness. Now, not everybody likes this because there are secondary benefits to being a victim. It's a source of identity to some people. It gets sympathy and support from others. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of the human experience. But when you're ready to move beyond that place of being a victim and let go of that identity, one very powerful way to do it is to understand that you planned your life and your biggest challenges before you were born, just like Christina planned to be in the bomb explosion.